Welcome back to the Pulse. Let's get to Nigeria because Muhammad Buhari's 2015 victory with his APC party was built on three promises: to rid Nigeria of endemic corruption, fix the economy, and tackle security threats. It's 2019 and he will have to show results in order to secure another term for the Nigerian people. Now, today, the Pulse puts the spotlight on Nigeria, which holds elections to choose between two septuagenarians to lead Africa's largest democracy, President Muhammadu Buhari and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. The pair have run for president 9 times between them. There are more than 60 other candidates, though their chances of winning are slim as the wealth and patronage networks of the two main parties drive the politics of Africa's top oil producer and most populous country. Let's go live now to speak with Seun Akimbaloye, who is political correspondent with our partners with Channels TV. He's on standby on Skype, though we'll get to speak to him shortly. But let's update ourselves on the build-up to the elections. So if you look on the screens shortly, we'll look at what's at stake in Nigeria. And you can just see that Buhari's 2015 victory with his All Progressive Congress Party was built on 3 promises. And we told you that he said he was going to rid Nigeria of endemic corruption, he was going to fix the economy, and he was also going to tackle security threats in that country. Now it's 2019, and the question is, the government says it is making progress, but the military's efforts to fight the Boko Haram Islamist insurgency and its Islamic State allied offshoots, now in its 10th year, are crumbling. And that's the question Nigerians are asking. The economy entered and climbed out of recession under Buhari, yet the average Nigerian is still getting poorer. And opponents say his government is failing to tackle corruption, targeting only the president's enemies and ignoring allegations against his allies. This, many say, may go against Buhari. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch say the army has been responsible for human rights abuses, including the massacre of protesters. The army has said its use of force is justified. All of these will go against Buhari if you listen to political analysts in the upcoming elections. But what has his opponent, Atiku Abubakar, also got? We'll also see all of that as we speak with Seun, who is with our sister channel, Channel TV. He's on Skype right now. Good afternoon to you, Seun Akimbaloye.
Thank you so much.
Seun, first tell us, how is Nigeria today?
Well, Nigeria is well, and there is a lot of anxiety in the air as regarding the preparations for the elections. Just about 7 days to the D-Day for Nigerians. About 84 million potential voters are in Nigeria. Today, the electoral umpire, the Independent National Electoral Commission, had extended the deadline for collection of the voter cards till Monday, the 11th of February 2019. This should allow a lot of more people to collect their cards. The idea is that in the card are embedded the chip that entails all your biometrics and your details that will allow you to be able to vote. Without a card, you cannot vote. Nigeria has a population growing to about 200 million, but about 84 million so far have been registered to vote. Some of them, for you to be able to vote in Nigeria, you must have come of about 18-year-old. So that is the voting age in Nigeria. So about 84 million Nigerians have so far registered over the years, but not all of them have collected their cards to vote. So the commission, the umpire, has extended that day. That is some of the news coming from Nigeria. So far, it's been some kind of anxiety, anticipation for the next 1 week. From about a week from today, Nigerians will be going to the polls in some of what analysts have described in one of the most contested races in the history of the country.
So, Seun, does it mean that people cannot vote without their cards? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. If you do not have the card, it's just about the size of a driver's license, perhaps the kind of license cards that are being carried by Ghanaians in Ghana. But in Nigeria here, you have different kind of identity cards. So for a voter to be able to vote, you have to register, and the register carries a chip with your biometrics, your fingerprints, your everything that has to do with your biometrics and your details on it. And there is a machine that will the card will interface with on the election day. So if you do not have the card, you cannot vote. Last time in Nigeria, in 2015 to be precise, about 64 million voters were registered. Out of that, about over 40 million collected their PVC, just a little above the 50% of the total registered voters. This time around, we do not have just yet the number of those who have collected their permanent voter cards. That's what we call it in Nigeria, PVCs, for the election. Out of the 84 million total registered, that's about the largest register that you will find in sub-Saharan Africa.
And so how many people are we talking about who have not picked their cards? You have any idea?
They're running to millions. The last time was August.
Sheun will join us shortly. We lost him on Skype. He will come back on Skype and continue this conversation on Nigeria's election. Quite interesting analysis he's giving us over there. And when he comes up, we'll also be interrogating the kind of messages and what kind of issues that is dominating the campaigns during up to next week's elections. Let's now turn our attention to the United States of America, where President Akufo-Addo is raising funds for the National Cathedral. But I'm told that Sheun is back on Skype to talk about Nigeria's election. Sheun, if you can hear me, tell me more about the people who have not picked their cards. How many are they?
They're running to millions. So the problem we have now is the issue of update on the data. The last time we have data from the umpire was August last year, and I told you earlier that about 10% of the total number of registered voters are still not picked up their voter cards. So we will get the latest an update on the permanent voter card yet to be collected in another few days, because it has been extended. So workers in the electoral umpire office will be working over the weekend up until Monday. Today was supposed to be the deadline for the collection, but the umpire shifted it for another few days until Monday, the 11th of February 2019. Perhaps by Wednesday, we should have an updated list or names or data of those who have collected and those who have not collected. Don't forget, the election is in 7 days, and I'm not sure that the umpire has had it so close to the election distributing the cards to voters.
Sheun, can you update us on the security situation in Nigeria as we speak?
Very much. That's another touching issue here in Nigeria, security. There are about 15 states in Nigeria that they have their one form of internally displaced persons camp across the country. The last time, 3 states in the northeastern region of the country were faced with insurgency. Some of these states are still facing some kind of attack intermittently, but that situation had grown into about 15 states in Nigeria having internally displaced camps in some parts of the state. Some about 2, 3, and in other states you have several of them. People who cannot live in their homes at the moment. Some of them will be voting in those camps. Security situation, the security agencies will tell us that they have it under control. The Independent National Electoral Commission, the umpire, is saying if we go ahead, it will not postpone the election for any reason. Don't forget, we have a history of postponement of polls. In 2011, on the day of the 4th day of opening of ballots, we had elections postponed last election cycle in 2015, we had election postponed by 6 weeks from the already scheduled fourth day of opening of ballots. So a lot of politicians are anticipating and they're agitated by some of the security situation. But by and large, not as much as you will perhaps think it might have affected the election. The election looks set, the umpire looks set from what they say, and the security agencies are telling us that they are set and they have everything ready for this election. We just hope that they keep to their words.
It looks like a quite charged environment there, but we're hearing of some disturbances or some confusion in the Bogun state where the candidacy of the PDP is being challenged. Can you confirm or deny this?
Well, in Nigeria, places like Zamfara State, Adamawa State, Borno State, you have some kind of attacks, some banditry, some issues of attacks that happen. But as it stands right now, not so much of situation that you will say will affect the election. It's a nationwide election. So you have some of these issues, pockets of violence here and there, pockets of insecurity at some point in the country, but not nationwide. I'm in Lagos, which is the commercial nerve of the country, where everything looks so peaceful. And if you're having your business here, you might not believe what is happening in some part of the country. If you are in other parts of Nigeria, you may not have a sense of the kind of insecurity that is being experienced in some other parts of the country. Like I said, about 15 states in Nigeria have some kind of internally displaced camps where we are expecting that elections will hold. They may not be able to vote in their homes or in their residence or in their area. They might be voting in some of these IDP camps.
Well, that looks very interesting, and the fact that security is intact in that country. But how many candidates are participating in this election?
That's an interesting one. So it's an interesting issue because we have some candidates who are withdrawn from the race. We have some candidates who have come together to endorse other candidates, and largely we have about over 40 of them running for the presidential election. You know, we run a bicameral legislature here in Nigeria. We have an upper chamber of the National Assembly and the lower chamber of the National Assembly. We have 360 seats in the House of Representatives, and we have 109 seats in the Senate of Nigeria. So those seats will be contested for by the 91 political parties in Nigeria. And so you can see the magnitude of the election. So the presidential election will hold in all of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the seat of power, Abuja, in Nigeria. And the National Assembly elections also will hold. The legislative elections will hold across the country also.
Sharon, so what are some of the issues that is dominating the campaigns gearing up to next week's elections?
There are a series of issues, but trust me, let me just mention four for you. Security is going to be a major issue. So the voters and Nigerians are looking at who will be able to tackle the issues of insurgency and nip it in the bud. People will be asking questions as to how you can decentralize the Nigerian police, the issues of restructuring the country, because people have challenged the structure of the country, of how things are not balanced and how Nigerians need to sit down and restructure the country. Nigerians are also looking at who will be able to tackle these issues, the issue of the economy of the country, who is able to bring a better deal for Nigerians in terms of the small scale and the medium scale business, how they can thrive. The present government is doling out some money to traders that they pay back every month. There are other initiatives that have been given. The opposition have criticized as a way of buying votes. There are a lot of issues on the ground as regarding the economy. So Nigerians will be looking forward to the person who has a better idea on how to deal with some of the issues in the economy. Don't forget that Nigeria rose from recession after several months of going deep into recession early 2016. That's about a year or so after this government got into power. And since then, the Nigerian economy has been limping, and hopefully Nigerians will be voting for that person, the candidate that will be able to tackle the issues of inflation, the issues of how Nigeria will not get back into recession and all of that. Another issue in Nigeria is the issue of corruption. The present government is talking about how he wants to fight corruption. The opposition is saying it's selective. It's just chasing after opposition figures in the country. The present government will say he's done a lot in ensuring that there are a lot of convictions. But there are a lot of issues also, issues like foreign interference in Nigerian election. The government in power had said, the party in power had said some European powers and Western powers are interfering and taking sides with the opposition. But the opposition is saying that the government, the party in power is using the power of state to muscle the opposition. So these are some of the issues on the table going into this very critical election.
Very interesting there, Shaun. Before I let you go, it is obvious that the election is now centered between President Buhari and Atiku Abubakar. Both of them are above 70 years. Who would you say is the people's favorite? And even is their age playing in this whole elections?
Well, determining who is the people's favorite is going to be a tough one. That might be determined maybe on Sunday or Monday when the election results are out. As it stands right now, anybody may have his favorite, but you may not know what the other person's favorite may be. As it stands right now, just early this morning, Nigeria's laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, just endorsed one of the candidates, not between those two people that you mentioned, Muhammadu Buhari and Atiku Abubakar. None of them did he endorse. He endorsed Professor Kingsley Marlowe, who has worked in the United Nations, who has also been a deputy governor of Nigerian Central Bank. He's running under the YPP. He's an outsider. A lot of people will describe him as such. And he's been endorsed by Professor Wole Soyinka. A lot of people will see him as an outsider of Nigeria's politics, but he's also trying to show how weighty he is in this race. There are other candidates, but as it stands, one may not be wrong to say Muhammadu Buhari and Atiku Abubakar, they are the major candidate. Anyone who would defeat either of these men will be an upset. That's how it can be described. If any of these two does not win the election, anyone who wins outside of these two will be an upset.
Very grateful to you, Shaun Akimbaloye, for the update. Shaun Akimbaloye is political correspondent with our sister station Channel TV in Nigeria, and he makes mention of 4 key issues that is playing critically in the campaign towards the elections in Nigeria scheduled for 16th February, and he talks about security in Nigeria, decentralization, and he talks about economy and corruption. He says that people are looking forward to who can deal with these 4 critical issues in the country. Then they can vote for those people. We'll be following keenly. Stay on Joy News. We'll be bringing you all the updates from the Nigerian election.